Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on turbotax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
So good, so good, so good.
Easter deals starting at just $25 are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means tons of fresh reasons to rack.
They've got the best gifts.
Because I always find something amazing.
Save on Easter finds from Kate Spade New York, Calvin Klein, MAC Cosmetics, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbif Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby. The top 14, Pro de National. They blur the French national team, the Champions Cup, the Challenge Cup. Brilliant town, cities, bars, fans, restaurants, food, cuisine, people, heritage, culture, whatever you want to call it. We're covering it all in sloppy detail. It is the last Rosbif Rugby podcast of 2024, or the first of 2025, depending on when you're listening. So happy New Year's Eve, happy New Year to wherever you are. I'm, as ever, joined by Rob, who, it's safe to say, it looks like Father Christmas has been, and he's brought bountiful goods. Talk me through this get-up.
Well, it was more of a Christmas present to myself. But yes, I am now the proud owner of a Section Palwars t-shirt, corduroy baseball cap, Christmas jumper, and off-screen a hat and scarf. Yeah, my Section Palwars Pau stash turned up while I was away, and I picked it up from next door yesterday. And I'm glad to say it all fits, which is the rarity these days, if I'm honest.
When you said off camera, I was hoping you weren't going to reveal that you're just sort of trouserless from the waist down, a lovely pair of Pau boxer shorts, but it doesn't appear
They do on their website, Section Palwars Budgie Smugglers, which is quite. I was tempted, I have to say, because there's like two different types as well. One with just the logo, and one's like a nice kind of green and white stripe, kind of beach stripes, as it were.
Okay, very nice. I mean, it must be said, it would be rude to not remark that the Christmas jumper is quite impressive. There's quite a lot going on there. Yeah,
what section emblazoned across the chest. But yeah, it's a bit more Christmassy than I perhaps thought when I ordered it. It's definitely a Christmas jumper as opposed to a winter jumper, I think. So try and squeeze it out for up until the 6th of Jan, maybe. But yeah, maybe not one for January.
How's your Christmas been?
Yeah, it's been all right. I was working yesterday. It was crap. But yeah, other than that, it was nice. Back home in the Isle of Wight, it was, good food. Saw some mates quite a bit, which was good fun. How about yourself? You've been all over the country. You've genuinely done the breadth of the country, from what I can tell.
Yeah, pretty much. It's usually a bit of an annual thing. So, went off to East Anglia for sort of not the main event or the main days of Christmas, whatever you want to call it. And then we sort of schlepped it across to Pembrokeshire, to West Wales, where it is now both wet and very, very windy, as is the want of this part of the world on occasions. But it's been lovely, yeah. Bit of time on the beach, got in the sea day before last, which was frosty, but very, very enjoyable.
Very nice.
And I'd say certainly compared to last Christmas, not feeling quite as sort of eaten and drunk quite as egregiously as I have in the past. So there's obviously time to put that right and make sure I head back to work feeling absolutely appalling rather than thoroughly rested. But yeah, thus far it's been very agreeable, it must be said.
You've had sunshine though, which is what we were crying out for on the Isle of Wight. We just wanted, just 10 minutes of brightness because it was very grey throughout and could have been lovely. But I've seen some photos of people in Wales where it looks absolutely glorious. So you might be getting it crap now, but
well, we had about 2 hours on the beach a couple of days ago, and it was like a proper picture postcard, but it did literally last for 2 hours, and then it was black. So we tucked up to avoid the rain briefly in the New Inn in a place called Amroth, which is adorned with Welsh rugby memorabilia. A few good signed shirts from sort of the early noughties, which was quite cool, including a New Zealand Sevens shirt, which I didn't get too much time to inspect, but I thought that was quite a nice niche sideline. Sevens alongside, I think it was a Chiefs shirt, actually, in terms of
as in Waikato Chiefs.
Waikato Chiefs, which is quite cool. So we'll have to go back and explore that over a rocking Rudolph ale at a later date.
Any good Christmas presents?
Yes, some fantastic Christmas presents, obviously. None of which immediately come to mind. No. Oh, I got that France rugby cap. That's
of course,
remained in London, so I'll be wearing that, I'm sure, at some point. Yeah, can't complain. No, not like, oh my god, you'll never guess what outrageous thing Auntie Sue got me.
Yeah,
there's none of that, unfortunately, this year. But birthday in January, so you never know what might be around the corner.
Yeah, that Proto de VR headset still on its way.
I can pretend to be Sam Davis or something. Unlock Sam Davis mode on on the Pro Data VR. Right, I've actually, so last week's episode, this is a bit of a surprise for you, Rob, but on last week's episode you went through the Rosbif Rugby quiz of the year, and I could see on your face that you were pained that it was you having to do the quiz and not showcase your prowess. So I've gone away and I've it's a sort of single question. It's based around one match, and it segues hopefully quite nicely from what I was just talking about. And it goes back to the 4th of August 2012, where the Chiefs, the aforementioned Chiefs, Waikato Chiefs, played the Sharks in the Super Rugby
final. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to answer these straight away. You can mull these over for the rest of the podcast, but I'll expect answers during the Petit-Fours at latest.
Okay.
So the question is twofold. In the starting lineups, there are 2 players who have represented Toulouse. Can you name who they were? And the second question, and perhaps more relevant,
is that across both? So there's 2 out of the starting 30. There's 2 players.
Yes. And there may be, there may be a couple of others. I don't know. But we're saying there's 2 because I know they both played for Toulouse. So we're going to leave it there. And there's actually a fair bit of French representation from these sides over the years, probably unsurprisingly, including Louis Ludic, who played for Argennes, I found out while I was doing this.
Oh, wow.
But perhaps more pertinently, there are 3 players who are currently playing in the top 14 from that match 12 and a half years ago.
The obvious one for me is Tawara Kabalo.
Is correct.
Did he? Presumably, he wasn't did he start? Or was he on the bench?
He started.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Ahead of Brendan Leonard.
I wonder if he'd usurped Leonard or not by that point.
So I'll let you mull those over.
So the Toulouse ones are past players.
I think one of them certainly a past player, and the other one, I believe, is still playing in France, but has he played this year? I'll need to double check that, but has been playing in France till fairly recently. The Toulouse players. One of them is very well known. I think I'm not sure if he did he play for Toulouse after that. No, I don't think he did.
Oh, so he went back to South Africa or New Zealand?
No, he may well have gone back to another club in France.
Okay.
I'll let you mull those over. I can see your face is looking pained. The cogs are whirring.
There was that South African 6 that played for Toulouse for quite a while. who was like a big, angry, long-haired, vintage South African who didn't get that much international recognition. I want to say Gerhard Vosloo, but he's the one that played at Claremont. Is there someone of that ilk? Is that one of the ones?
No.
Okay, cool.
No.
I will not worry my mind about that anymore.
Where do you want to start? The top 14, the Boxing Day round, which doesn't take place on Boxing Day, and apparently Boxing Day is not particularly common parlance in France either. So shout out to the top 14 for just rolling with that. Printed on all the balls. Yeah, I've seen that the last couple of years. Quite a few people.
It allowed them to do some jazzy balls and some jazzy new graphics, which I quite enjoyed. Quite hectic design, the Boxing Day.
Yeah.
And seemingly no reference to Christmas either.
No, not at all. And quite reminiscent of like the 100 logos for any cricket fans out there. That's sort of clip art. Yeah, aggressive, but agreeable. Should we start with your boys, given that you've come in full kit and some?
Yeah.
Big win for Section Palois and much needed.
Yeah, and I actually, for the first time, I think, I sat through the whole replay on Top 14 website, which has no commentary. It's just crowd effects and ref mic. And I think we've talked about it before, but yeah, they are generally available a couple of days after the game and on Pro Day 2. But it's the first time I've ever sat down and watched the whole thing. Partly because I wanted to Pau have not been on TV a lot. I mean, I know that, I get that. Like, we're not a big club. It's not a big following. It's not a story like it is with Van. I think I'd imagine Pau and Perpignan are probably the least televised, I reckon.
Yeah.
Even like Leon, they've got no history. Like, how are they getting on it? Niniashvili, that's probably the answer. But yeah, and so I kind of wanted to watch it properly. I'd love to have come into this with all my stash saying, we're back, what a brilliant performance, we're going to blow everyone off the park, etc. I'm afraid to say that's not quite the case. It wasn't the prettiest of games. Neither side wanted to play any rugby in their own half. And I actually kind of came out of it with a lot of concerns for Pau. Like, the first 10, 15 minutes was they could barely get out their own half, and it just looks so easy to get on top of them up front. I know we've kind of spoken about their scrum not being that great. They're the third most penalised against at scrum time this year, which makes me wonder who the other ones are. Not that I've delved into it just came up on screen. They early on, I think it was first scrum almost, they conceded a penalty, and the early try they conceded was kind of all from forward drives from lineouts and stuff. And I think generally throughout the game, it looked very easy for Van to get over the gain line and make yards after contact. Pau just look a little bit lightweight. They all look very trim, but they almost look too trim. You look at Gaetan, the names, the guys that have played for France, Gaetan, Oredu, they look thin. They look spindly. I know they're a young side, but they've got a lot of growing into required. What I would say, so that's quite negative on Pau. They do have the line out works, which is more than can be said for a lot of teams in the top 14. It's actually pretty good. I think I heard it referenced the other day. I think there's I can't remember who it was, but I think they're top 3 line outs in terms of success, which is good. Not they can do much with the drive maul because they've not got a huge pack, but they can launch plays from it. They have an exceptional goal kicker, it has to be said. Joe Simmons, MBE, was 8 from 8, I think it was, which in a game like that, okay, Van didn't miss many either, but it allows you to go for the kind of bonus point tries because because you've taken all your points on offer and because you've kicked your goals, you've got enough of a lead that you've got that buffer, so you can go to the corner and try and get that bonus point. So they did get an attacking bonus point despite a late try for Van, which it's a brilliant result, that, to be honest. And the thing is that they're just capable of scoring some brilliant tries. There's
some really good ones in this, weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that one last week against Toulon when they got hammered. It was a kind of nice backs move. There was a pretty similar one, or one that followed a similar shape for Aaron Grandidier to score in the corner. And then there was a lovely bit of interplay between Joe Simmons and Axel Desperez, which was a lovely little chip over the top. I'd say that's one of the best tries I've seen this weekend, at least. So yeah, some positive signs. I think if they can, it is all about just getting some sort of parity up front. And I think kind of as soon as I saw the team sheet, I saw Becca Gorgadze back. He was captain, brilliant news. And he wasn't just motoring through people. He did absolutely bounce Francis Sahili, of all people, at one point. But it's more the fact that you can now have him and Zeger playing. So you've kind of got like his energy and his carries, and then there was, for one of the tries, he carried, and then Zagur carries like straight afterwards, and that's the carry that gets you over the gain line. It's the secondary carry, so it's rather than just one forward doing all the work. You've now got a couple of blokes who can do it. Nathan Decaron, who was brilliant at times last year, just a very, on the face of it, ordinary centre who runs dead straight, which is a hell of an asset to have. Quite like Guillaume Martok at Bayonne. Just a solid player that runs dead straight. A lot of stuff that was positive for Pau came through him or Joe Simmons. So yeah, some positive signs. I think it's a key, just more holistically, a really, really crucial result for Pau. And it makes such difference when you see the other results this weekend. That bottom of the table doesn't read well for Van, but even with the other results, it's kept everyone around them, and it's kind of, they've all extended the lead over Van, really, haven't they?
Yeah, I think what's that, an 8-point buffer already? 7-point buffer?
9 points over Van, but I mean, Lyon have got a 7-point buffer over Van. But that is so Pau aren't out the woods in terms of the access match, but they're kind of, I think no one wants that bottom place, obviously, because that is automatic relegation. And at least in the access match, you've got, a lot of these players do have star quality. We saw it with Montpellier last year. Despite as shambolic as they were, they had enough for a Grenoble team that was excellent throughout the season. On a one-off game, your star quality can shine through. So like looking at Joe Simmons, for example, Joe Simmons in an access match game is going to be quite a key asset, you'd imagine, if it came to it. Similarly, Niniashvili or Kuyu.
Yeah. Although we said that about Kovis Reinach last year, and Montpellier watched great past Grenoble and with 2 minutes left or something, wasn't it? But yeah, we're a little bit away from that. But yeah, it's a tough one to stomach for Van.
We are halfway through the season though, so I kind of previewed this by saying, when in the kind of longer previews I did last week, was this tape, we should now be at a point where the table doesn't lie. And it feels like it is, because I feel like Van have been better than 7 points worse than the next worst team. Maybe.
And I wouldn't say, I don't know, there feels like there's just a squad depth thing. There's a gap. Like, I think Lyon are a significantly superior side to Van, and I'm not sure 13th quite paints how well they've played at points, albeit they've not been amazing. They played just on squad depth. Pau, the little injury infirmary graphic came up. They have 3 rows of injuries, which is quite something. They are still battling a long injury list despite the return of Gorgadze. But yeah, that leads us nicely onto Lyon, who got back-to-back draws. The only 2 draws of the season belong to Lyon, or are shared by Lyon. Yeah, so I'm going that. And I think, again, from what I saw of this game, Racing have contrived to, throw this one away. It was let me find... It was.
To be fair, there was 1 point in the first half, and they took blooming ages to make the decision, where somehow Kuyu went off for a slap down for a yellow card, less than 5 meters from his own try line, and Racing picked the ball up and scored, and yet I couldn't work out why a try wasn't given, and there was no obvious reason why a penalty try wasn't given it was like a 3-man overlap, and they gave him a yellow card. So, in fairness to Racing, that could have stretched them out to quite a decent lead at that point, and you never know when a team gets a double figures lead, it can change the complexion of a game completely.
Yeah, and they were really dominant in the first half, and I say from the kind of intermittent bits I saw, looked really good value for that as well. But I think in terms of, I saw a couple of sort of journalists, I think, tweeting about this, but as if to sort of sum it up. So Lyon draw level with the last kick of the game, which is slotted by Martin Melion, who is on loan from Racing.
I didn't realise until I saw it last night that he was actually on loan. I assume he'd just signed. So the fact he's on loan is just an absolute touch, isn't it? Yeah,
it's incredible. I think there's a guy called Matthew Bauer who puts out some quite interesting stuff. Flag that he's on loan, which is rather sums it up for Racing. There was also in this game the Randrandra try, which actually takes Lyon ahead. So they were leading into the 77th minute.
No, it draws them level. Draws them level at first.
Was it level?
Takes them 22.
Yeah, of course it does. And then Legarrec's penalty. But the Randrandra try comes from the most delightful little grubber kick from Dylan Cretan of all people, which was beautiful, and someone I think we both quite enjoy as a player. So shout out.
He's just been injured for so long, and I was almost reminded in this game because he was up against Woki. Like there was a time where you're kind of the guy before Gelange, before Rumat, before Boudon, it was kind of Olivon, Aldrit, Cross, and then the next guy off the bench was Cretan or Woki. And it's kind of, because he's been out for so long, I think he's barely played since like just before the World Cup. I think he just missed out on the World Cup squad. He might have been in the World Cup squad. But he was right up there with all those guys that we laud regularly. Brilliant athlete at line-out time and just proper good workhorse. I did not know that he had that in his locker. The little delightful left-footed grubber. That's a brilliant try. That
lovely bit of work. There was something else I wanted to say about this game, but I've completely forgotten it.
One thing. So I was I watched the first half of this on mute while just having a bit of lunch. With my girlfriend, and I was trying to. She was like, "Oh, who do you want to win this?" I was like, "I don't really know." It's like, "Well, who's best for Pau?" It's like, "Well, that would be Lyon winning," but it is quite funny seeing Racing lose. And I explained to her the Dan Lancaster situation in terms of, there's an English coach. He signed his son from wasn't a good player in second division in England, and he's playing ahead of 4 international players. And then right on cue, there's a bust from Tuisova. And then the next, a few breakdowns later, Antoine Joubert has kind of done a lovely bit of hands to give with a lovely bit of timing from Henry Arundel. Arundel runs in. It's like, oh yeah, well there you go. There's the French player that should have been playing ahead of him doing something quite good. It was kind of beautifully timed from Racing in more than just the way they played.
You've missed out that your theory that Gael Fickou doesn't pass was totally dispelled in that move, because it was him who pops the ball off to Arundel for the try. But I think
but that's a set play, mate. He barely passed in this game. The amount of times two
tries, the final pass is Fickou. You need to get the anti-Fickou blinkers off, mate. He's completing 30 passes a match and you just can't see it. They just don't appear on your screen. Stepping in at scrum half. The only other thing I was going to say on this was there's been loads of, talk about Dan Lancaster there, but there was loads of speculation in the week, which appears to have just been fired up by Andy Good saying, I've heard rumours about Lancaster going to Munster, etc., etc. And he's staying put, and it's sort of, they've kind of doubled down on him as the sort of first team coach, I think, haven't they? And is it Travers has walked?
So I think from it was slightly different on commentary, but I think, what they were saying on commentary, I think Laurent Travers was always going to leave, or it was kind of, they'd come to agreement that he was going to leave at the end of the season. So his official role was president, I think, but he's basically kind of a director of rugby type thing. He was head coach for 10 years, partly alongside Laurent Lebitte, and then when Laurent Lebitte went to France, he was kind of head coach in his own right. very successful coach before Racing, very successful coach with Racing, brought them top 14 title in 2016. Bit of a, in recent times, Mr. Racing 92. And he's obviously kind of been moved upstairs. They brought in Stuart Lancaster. And I got the sense that he kind of wanted to, the thing that I can tell is that he wanted to get back to coaching a bit more. I don't know the ins and outs of why he moved upstairs and they brought in Stuart Lancaster. But I think, so on commentary said it's the end of the season, but I think he's gone with basically immediate effect, and then they're bringing someone in. It's a very amicable one, like Jackie Lorenzetti, who is not short of a few barbs and not shy to speak his own mind. I think said he was kind of he was
tells it like it is.
Yeah. He regretted the fact he regretted the fact that Laurent Chavez was going. But he is going. He's joining Bayonne next season, which is interesting. I don't know how that's going to work with Greg Patat, but he is going to be a closer to the touchline role with Bayonne.
Oh, very nice. Bayonne, who continue to march on. Albeit a little bit of gloss on the scoreboard here as well, because this was I was kind of hanging on. Maybe they'll get a draw out of it. This was a 7-point game in the 75th minute, something like that. So Cass hung in there quite well. A couple of tries for Remy Baget, who I don't think I'd quite appreciated how outrageous his rat tail is.
Yeah.
It is truly, it's sort of like prime Jack Noel, but possibly even more aggressive.
It's long.
It's so long. It's, fair play to Remy.
But I do want to shout out from the Van game. I think Anton Bresler might have the worst lid in the top 14.
It is quite something.
It's quite disgusting. It's like a Bernard Janzi van Rensburg with less hair on top.
Without the irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good going. The two call outs to this. Bayonne score last play of the game. Mangala interception when Castro trying to wing it about a bit. Another try for Sorelli.
Double figures.
And the try before this goes straight into contender for the Rosbif Rugby own try of the season, following some great efforts from, I think, Leon earlier in the year with Nini Ashvili.
Yeah.
There's one for Van, wasn't there? Go and have a look at it. This is them desperately trying to run the ball out. A maul which starts behind their dead ball line, collapses, and somehow amidst that, Habel Kerfner gets the ball down. It is... I think it is thus far the own try of the year. So frustrating watching as a Cast fan.
What happened elsewhere? Cast side that have started to lose the plot a bit, or started to lose their way.
No Will Collier, mate. No Will Collier.
Well, yeah, but they're also winless for the last 3 games.
2 games.
3.
3?
Yeah.
They lost to Bordeaux, lost to Bayonne, and
before that, whoever that was.
Well, before that was Munster, who they beat.
No, I mean in top 14.
Okay.
Because
I'll give you that.
Leon are winless in 7. 5 defeats and 2 draws.
Yeah, that's some going, isn't it?
Leon last won a game in the top 14 in mid-October, which is quite remarkable.
That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is wild.
To be fair, Racing, I think, is something like 2nd of November. But yeah.
Perpignan. La Rochelle rested a few, but really good win for them.
Yeah, really good win. They needed that. We both called it. Which, well done us. But yeah, it was it was a full noise front row for sure. Berrier, Ruiz, and Kieran Brooks, who looks like he's had a lovely Christmas, I have to say. But that's a really good result for them. I haven't seen any of this game.
I think, just really good up front for the bits I saw. Oviedo and Brooks both made, I think, Midi Olympics team of the week. So if those two are firing, you're probably going all right. Top end of the table, or top-ish end of the table, Bordeaux, Toulon. Toulon, who sort of rotated a tiny bit, but I think as you called out, we're very excited to see Antoine Frisch and Lestafine Ganuku playing together for the first time. Is that correct?
I'm pretty sure it was the first time, yeah.
That's quite, frustrating for them. But nearly paid off. They were leading this with about 5 minutes to go. And, got a defensive bonus point, 19-17 away at Bordeaux, which was unwatchable, I would say, at points, owing to the brouillard, the fog. I know the Toulouse game was pretty murky as well, but this seemed another level at points. Genuinely incognito game of rugby going on. I think, to be honest,
and conveniently, a couple of the tries were in the far corner where. Well, as for the TV viewer, they were kind of right in the bit that was least visible.
Yeah, it was wasn't great viewing. One of the bits that was quite cool, going back to Leicester and Ganuku. So Olivon got binned in the last 10 minutes. We're seeing him picking and going from the base of the scrum. He finished at number 8, which was quite cool.
He does play like another back rower at times. So
he is. I mean, it's an obvious thing to say for professional rugby, but he is properly enormous, isn't he?
It's just powerful. Yeah, he's a big unit.
Impressive stuff. It would have been. I mean, we've seen Bordeaux have found a way to win ugly, but this would have been quite the result for Toulon. I think they. I don't know. Do we think they are the 4th best side in the league after the top 2, La Rochelle probably still, or like they seem to they seem to have found a level of consistency, Toulon, which perhaps has belied them in recent seasons, which is pretty impressive.
I think this game showed that they've got so much depth at scrum time or in the pack. Their starting front row has been excellent all season, but to kind of put them on the bench, they didn't have Saran in this game. I think it's some pretty good stuff. They do have a level of depth, and I've said before, like their fringe players or their non-superstars are pretty good. I think, you know, the likes of Dreyan, Domon, kind of Le Corvec, those sort of, like the names you don't really know. I think they're actually all right, and they've got so many. Like, I think it helps having Olivon playing some brilliant rugby again. Certainly helps. And Villiers, like 2 guys who were kind of leaders. Well, a couple of years ago were 2 of their best players because they were rock star international players. They're now back at nearer the level that they were kind of 2020, 2021 sort of time.
Yeah,
there was
good for them.
Talking of depth, there was also a try in this game in only his 2nd appearance for Toulon. Player we're both fans of.
Go on.
Joe Quere-Caraba.
Oh, of course. Who, going back to the start
it was a run-in.
Year.
Like it wasn't I was hoping for some sort of blockbuster mowing people out the way sort of thing, but it was a run-in.
Yeah, but good to see him starting because
he was on the bench.
Was he not? Did he not start?
No,
I thought. Apologies. I thought he was at 7. Got that wrong. But start of the season, he was one of the guys. You know, obviously brilliant in the under-20s, but had started to show glimmers, and we thought was going to be. Has he been injured? Is he just out of favour? So obviously a pretty strong back row
because he's been training with the 7 side. So I think he has been available largely.
He was one of the guys who picked up this sort of next round of 7s contracts. Is that correct?
Yeah. Or like Project 2027 or whatever 2028 or whatever they've called it. But yeah, really, I just want to see more of him because if he can, you know, there's pretty good signs. 2nd appearance, he basically played like less than a half of rugby almost, and he's got to try. So let's see more of him because I think I'd like to see him play in the 15s and not go into 7s because I think he can do everything that you want a back rower to do.
There's also a first appearance off the bench for a young French centre called Oliver Cowie, who's only 19. I don't know if he got on in the end, but they're clearly looking to, or GIF qualified. Club du Gouf, wherever that is.
Wow.
Yeah, so starting to bring through a few young lads. Oliver Cowie, I think I looked him up because I didn't recognise the name. I thought maybe this was some sort of like medical joker from Australia. And no, transpires he's French, former French under 18, under 20, played this year.
There you go.
So yeah, they're bringing through some good ones. Fog, Toulouse, Stade Francais, also difficult to see.
Foggy. It was in the football stadium, this one.
Yes, yeah.
Which I didn't know before going into it. It's hard to say anything new. I'm trying to say new stuff about Toulouse, but it is getting quite hard. Although Tony D pulled out late, he was ill. Obviously, the partying in NYC got to him, and he was had a bit of a lurgy.
Honestly, boss, I had a dodgy kebab.
Yeah. Oh, I think I've had some. It must have been some dodgy plane food on the way back. But Paul Grau was brilliant in this game. I know we've kind of spoken before about. I think he's really good. I mean, one of the tries was very Dupont. It basically dropped to him, and he, out of nowhere, the ball's kind of landed at his feet, and he's chipped through. And
that was very
had
nice.
Enough gas, and he's still got he's got a great fend, which again is quite Dupont-y. He's definitely not Antoine Dupont, but I think I'd quite like him I'd be interested to see him at 9 ahead of, Dalbagna at Pau, or, although Ruru is quite good at Van. But yeah, I'd be interested to see him in a slightly weaker team without that kind of the aura of Toulouse. But he's a hell of a fill-in, given that he isn't playing international rugby. They don't have Dupont in every game. Someone that dependable that can also have a little bit of magic or finish tries in their own right is pretty bloody useful. And I think that's, for them, he does exactly what they need him to do. Yeah, he's probably not. I think I had him like 6th or 7th as kind of best 9 in France, which means you're probably the best 9 in Wales, but it's still pretty good player. But other than that, I kind of spent this game trying to work out who the second best player in the world is behind Tony D. And my options were Malvaca, Willis, or Ramos. It was actually the thing that made me question it was actually Ramos. Yeah. He was absolutely imperious. He's just masterful. He looks so comfortable.
You've made the unilateral decision that one of the other best players in the world has to play for Toulouse. There's no one else.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Mainly because I think all South African rugby players and Irish rugby players are rubbish as well. So I think they're all overrated. So the second best player in the world has to be from Toulouse, basically, as well.
Okay. Interesting.
Or it's Baptiste Couillou.
Think we can, or Sorelli Mangala.
Sorelli Mangala, yeah.
Two genuine worldy tries from Stade Francais in this game, though, which are well worth a watch. The Azago tries as good as you'll see from a second row, like busting in from 40 metres or whatever. It was very cool.
I've missed that because there is a patch between Petersfield and Hazelmere where the signal is not very good, and you lose all 4G and 5G. So I, on my train back on Sunday night, I missed this try. Absolutely livid.
Yeah, it's a beaut. And then the last one as well, which was, or the last Stade Francais try, I should say, which was scored by Laloy or Laloy.
That was a fair, yeah.
That was
fairly
very steady,
fairly loose try.
But they were like Stade Francais. We said it. They're definitely on an upward curve, aren't they? And they were in this for decent chunks. I think they're sliding up the right way.
They were at arm's length, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I think but you're playing Toulouse, who are near enough at full click. Like they weren't blown away at all. But I think arm's length is fair enough.
They are still the only team to have not even registered a bonus point away from home. 0 points.
Really?
From 7 away games.
Good work.
Now that Claremont, now that the Bechamel sauce has turned themselves around away from home.
Yeah, although real turn
not at home.
Form book, Montpellier got a brilliant win because I think you put it out there. Claremont actually have the strongest home record in the league. Or did
28 from a possible 30 points at home this season. I mean, I guess it was always going to be a tight, forward-oriented game. But I did think that Claremont would have enough, especially like the way they played against La Rochelle the week before. You kind of okay, they made a few errors. They probably won't make those mistakes again. But fair play to Montpellier. Foggy, doing the business.
Doing the business. Well, when you don't know when that sentence could be around the corner, gotta make the most of it. He was whacking them
playing the game like it's his last,
like from miles away as well.
Really?
Yeah, there was I think actually the sort of winning kick was pretty much on halfway in not amazing conditions. Hit it really well. Although I did see the scrum penalty that preceded it looked like one of the looser calls from someone who knows nothing about the scrum. The Montpellier tight loose head just falls on the floor, slips his bind, head, shoulder, arm on the deck, and it goes the other way. It's like, ooh,
yeah,
maybe there's something I've missed there. But yeah, they seem to have found a way to play. Captain Billy Vunipola, post-tasering, is looking in sort of the best form he's been in years. He's looking, I think we've said this before, like he's looking in like career best nick, which appears to be is not always what happens when people sign a contract in France. But yeah, he seems to be having
Andy Good. Andy Good reckoned he lost weight. I think at the time, anyway. I bet now he's like, well, I ate loads, but yeah, I think at the time he actually did lose quite a bit of weight.
All the darts. Yeah, another interesting round, and we've got one more, haven't we? Before the first round of the year, before the Champions Cup is back as ever. Oh, I mean, there's one absolute blockbuster, but any others stand out for you?
Cast v Pau.
Cast v Pau.
The Rosbeef Derby returns.
The Rosbeef Derby is back.
I bet that's not on TV.
Yeah.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'll check it now, but I'd put good money on that not being live on Premier Sports.
You said, but then you've got Montpellier at the same time. Montpellier played by Stade Francais played Bordeaux. It's going to be that one, isn't it? You think
it is Paris versus Bordeaux, 3:30 or 3:25 p.m. Toulon Racing, Paris Bordeaux, La Rochelle Toulouse. It's quite a decent Saturday. Van are on Blooming TV again. Van v Clermont. Turns out what you need to do is just be bottom of the league. Get on TV the whole time.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that could be a really good game. And then I think they'll no fixtures haven't been for the round afterwards because of the Champions Challenge Cup.
Do you think
bump around Toulon Racing as well?
Do you think? Yeah, where do you think? Do you think how strong will teams go? Cast will definitely be full noise.
Casts, well, all your home teams going to be full noise. I think Bordeaux will take a proper side, won't they, to Stade Francais? And there's not.
I don't think they will. I don't think.
But you don't really get a proper Shags Bordeaux team anymore.
No, I think you'll get the rotated team. So perhaps not Deporter, perhaps not Penaud. LBB seems to play every single game.
I think you usually get one of Penaud or Louis Biel-Biarré at all times.
I think Buros is getting quite close to returning. I read that he was going to start or he's going to play last week, so I imagine he might be back.
Okay,
they might get some game time into him. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
but it'll be. I'd be surprised if Luku starts.
Yeah, you could be right.
I've also just got Lyon Perpignan is a interesting one.
That is at Lyon, right?
Yeah, good chance for them to win their first game since 13th of October.
2.5 months.
In
Yeah,
14.
amazing.
Yeah, but that's also quite a key game for the bottom of the league. There's every chance that after this weekend, actually the 13th, actually no, it'll be Perpignan and Stade will probably still be below Pau. That's right. I'm good.
Yeah.
And Racing are getting quite close to getting drawn into that.
Yeah,
Racing they are 11 points ahead of Van, but they are only 4 points ahead of Lyon in 13th.
I'm still not too concerned about that
either.
Yeah, you're probably right on that.
But Richard, that brings us on to your faith in Racing. Brings us on because we're at the halfway mark. I thought it would be good to check in on where we are at on our weekly predictions. Haven't got around to totting it up for Pro League, but we don't need that for a few weeks.
Okay.
13 rounds. Do you want to guess what your rough percentage correct rate is?
I reckon just above half.
You've been modest. 2/3. You're on 66%.
Okay.
I'm on 71, which is less close than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to be 1 or 2% apart, but it almost entirely stems from your support of Racing. There are quite a lot where I'm on 60. I'm on 65 out of 91. You are on 60 out of 91, and I can tell you that quite a few of them are Racing. Of those, that difference of 5, I reckon about 3 are Racing.
I still reckon my accumulator would have made us way more money of those 60 games.
But by the accumulator that I looked at putting on last week for my predictions of all the home wins was a whopping 3.22 to 1.
Yeah.
So actually,
no time for that.
Absolutely, someone's done well out of that because of the Montpellier away game and the away win and the draw.
Yeah, you're right. All right, should we leave that there and we'll come back with some reflections, resolutions, and Petit-Fours. Alrighty, Rob, 2024 was the year of the Ros beef. Go on, give us your reflections. What's your highlight of the year, the French rugby year? You can't say DuPont sevens.
No,
too obvious.
Well, it wouldn't be. My highlight is I think as you'll be unsurprised to hear is the France New Zealand game. I just thought it was first time at Stade de France. The whole performance, let's call it, of the theatre. That's the word I'm looking for. Lived up to expectations and more, and then we happened to watch an absolute classic. And you're looking at privileged to be there type things, seeing the likes of Biel Beret, and I mean, I've loved watching Bowden Barrett in the flesh before, but some of those guys, to see them in the flesh is really, really cool. So that would be my obvious highlight. I think that one of the games of the year is that, or the Champions Cup final was a brilliant game. Two teams who are top notch, going head to head, and Toulouse won it, which is
hard
nice
to look past that. Forget how ludicrous that Champions Cup final was, actually, with the extra time. And I remember getting home relatively late to watch it and thought, that's quite a long programme time for an 80-minute game of rugby. I wonder what's going to happen here. Yeah, hard to. I think I'd probably be hard pressed to disagree with France New Zealand as my highlight. Although one of my favourite games of the year was the one I banged on about for ages. That brilliant game, the one that DuPont's only lost in 2024. He came off the bench against Bordeaux at the Matmut. That was a proper advert for French rugby at its absolute finest. And then the other one,
it is the equivalent weekend this year. So my friend, his wife bought him a quite sensational trip encompassing Paris, Bordeaux, San Sebastian, and he said the other day that it encompasses Bordeaux versus Toulouse, and I noticed that it was the same weekend. So I imagine that might well be at the football stadium again.
That's very cool. Is that sort of April time?
Last weekend of March, I think.
Last weekend of March. Very nice. And then, of course, but most importantly, got out to the Stade Pierre Fabre for the first time. The pilgrimage. Yeah. So that was excellent.
That was probably the best ground I went, apart from Stade de France. Probably in terms of domestic rugby, I think that was there or Montauban, I'd say, were the two games that I enjoyed the most, or the atmospheres I enjoyed the most.
Nice. Let's move on. 2025, big year, big cliche. Have you got any resolutions, any predictions for the year to come? What year is it this year? In the Chinese calendar.
Oh, I've no idea.
I love that. What the year of the lions?
Yeah, I would like to go back out to Pau this year. I think that would be my main resolution. I'd also quite like to incorporate it with some sort of activity trip, whether it's skiing or cycling. Make the most of being in the Pyrenees. I think that would be try and do something like that. But I'd love to get back out to Stade d'Amo.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, I would love
somehow I'd love to shoehorn another trip to Stade Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I love the Stade Champs-Élysées. We didn't quite do it justice.
I've got another.
Well, I'd love to get to, if I can, I'd love to get up to one of the teams in the north or northish in the
West
top
Coast.
14, either La Rochelle or Vannes. For me, if we could somehow find a way to get one of those in 2025. Which when it is the Chinese New Year from the 29th of January, it is the year of the snake. So our friend in Lyon will be very happy about that.
Does that mean we have to go back to Lyon at some point?
Possibly. Do like Lyon. So that would be my resolution if I can get to one of them.
One thing for 2025 that I think we should try and do is try and get to a national game. We have not been to one for quite a while. And the club we went to no longer exists, really.
Yeah. There's some good, particularly in that Toulouse area, right? They're pretty accessible.
Yeah.
All right, plenty on the list. Trips sorted for 2025. Do you want to go into the Petit-Fours, or have you got anything else you wanted to touch on briefly?
I saw one or maybe a couple of places on Instagram doing their kind of 15s of signings of the season. So I kind of wanted to think about our kind of, well, I don't want to do a 15, but your top 5, not necessarily in order, and we can compare it to I don't think it ever quite made it to a proper formal list or video, but we did name a top 10 signings pre-season, which is quite interesting to look back on now.
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't given this a huge amount of thought. I'm going to go to start with Rosbiff, friend of the pod, Kieran Brooks, has been awesome at Perpignan.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to go for another English tight head, Will Collier.
Will Collier has also been amazing at Cast.
I've nearly ended up with 4 English props in my top 5 because I probably wouldn't put Brooksy in there. I'm afraid to say I probably would put Will Collier in because he has been genuinely outstanding, one of the best players. I think Mako Vunipola has been a hell of a signing at Van.
Yeah, he's been great.
He's suddenly a destroyer of scrums and he's scoring tries. And another English tight head, Kyle Sinclair, has been absolutely brilliant. Don't sleep on him. He's got some good stats. We all know that, and he'll remind us if we do sleep on him. But he's had a brilliant first half of the season in Toulon.
Yeah. Hard to disagree. I think the others I had are, one Englishman who I think is, I don't know if he's made many sort of team of the weeks, but I think has been pivotal to a Bayonne side that have really gone in the right direction is Manu Tuolangi, has been great.
Yeah.
And down at Bayonne, I'm sure he's on your list, Giovanni Habel-Kerfner.
I think he is possibly my number 1. It's very hard to kind of rank the top 5, but I think he's just been so good for Bayonne, especially kind of the last 6 games or so, basically since the San Sebastian game. I think he's been absolutely fantastic for Bayonne, both sides of the ball. Really canny signing that. I agree on Manu. I think he's been a little bit of he's not been Manu. He's been a bit more of a glue player, kind of a very solid option that can attract a lot of attention and facilitate a lot of other things for the rest of that side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And obviously the last Englishman that I had on the list is Dan Lancaster.
Transformative.
Now, I think, do you know what? It pains me to say it, but it's another tight head. A guy who has been a really, really good signing from a rugby perspective is Wilfred Hungpatam. He's quite regularly in team of the week type things, but we can't have him in our top 5 because he's a criminal. So, shame.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think my 5 in the end were, Thomas Sate is close. I'm going to go Mako, Habel-Kufner, Collier, Sinclair, Johnny Gray.
Yeah, Johnny Gray's
British tinge in that.
Johnny Gray's a fantastic player. And yeah, I think for me, Habel-Kufner, I'm sticking with Brooks and Collier, Manu, and I had Bordeaux as well as my last one, which is it's maybe a little bit left field, but someone I think has been absolutely immense every game he's played is Rohan Janse van Rensburg. And I think he's brought something to that Bordeaux side that we're talking about how there isn't really there is a second choice, but that it's a sort of more 1A, 1B. And I think he's a big part of their increased consistency, shall we say, this year. He's so reliable, does exactly what you want from that sort of player, gets them on the front foot, whacks people. Low key, I think he's been superb for them.
I thought you were going to, as you were talking then, the guy that was very, very close and possibly deserves it slightly more than Johnny Gray that I was going to go for was Arthur Retier, who...
He has been awesome.
And I think we kind of previewed Bordeaux's signings as these are players that are going to play when their internationals aren't there. And, look at those guys that they've signed. Retier, Gray, I know he's injured for a while now. But Matthew, I think, has been great. Rohan Janse van Rensburg has been great. Swinton, when he's not been banned, has been great. Like those guys, none of them are going to miss for the Six Nations. So, and they all played during this autumn internationals. So, yeah, pretty good signings. Do you want to hear our top 10 as we
go on quickly? We haven't got long left.
10 and Badiang, who was brilliant and then has disappeared. Nicholas Martins, who has barely played at Montpellier. I've got no idea why. Kamikamitha at Van, barely played. Joel Kapoku, who was brilliant off the bench this weekend, actually, but has also barely played. Joey Carberry, again, another Bordeaux signing.
Yeah.
Louis Carbonell, who actually has started.
Who has been good.
Been pretty good. Barnaby Massa, again, someone that's starting to come into it. Number 3, we had Antoine Frisch, who has barely played. And then the top 2 were both Racing players. We had Roman Taufifenua and number 1, Owen Farrell. And we did note kind of Berrier, Collier, Gray, Janse van Rensburg, Matthew, Thomas Say, Habel-Kufner were all kind of mentioned. I actually explicitly said not Manu Tuolangi, so well done me on the pulse as ever.
Top work. A few mockers, Rosbiff mockers, gone on with a couple of the guys there. Alrighty,
very Rosbiffy. I know a lot of the players were English that came across the channel this year, but that is quite a Rosbiffy tint on our. But they've been good. What can we say?
Petit-Fours, last one of the year. What's caught your attention before we wrap up with my fiendish quiz question at the start?
I've not seen much, but I did see something that's changing of end of the year, changing of the guard. Do you know who Christophe Charot is?
No.
You would 100% recognise him because he is the Pilu Pilu man at Toulon.
Oh, really?
And last weekend was his last one after 5 years in the job.
Oh, wow.
First of all, I feel like it's been the same bloke since back when they were like the world greatest team.
The Galacticos.
Like 10, 15 years ago. And also, like, why is he giving up, or like who's taking over? Also, the guy, he also looks like a cross between, which also really always used to really confuse me. He looks like a cross between Bujal and Mignoni, which is kind of like a weird, weird thing to get your head around. So yeah, intrigue. Well, it'll be this weekend. This is his last one this weekend coming up, or we will have a new Pilu man at Toulon.
End of an era.
Yeah,
a bit like the horse, the Pelot, whatever his name is. I always forget it. A Bayonne, changing of the guard of these key positions. The big
talking of a changing of the guard of key positions. I've got no idea what relevance it is currently, but I've seen a couple of times that someone has a photo of mocked up of Cami Lopez on like a presidential stand, and they're pushing for him to be a presidential candidate in 2027. I think. I don't know what. I assume that's for kind of French presidents take over from Macron, but I reckon the French could do worse and have Cami Lopez as their French president next time the elections come up. But yeah, there seems to be one bloke in Bayonne on an absolute campaign to get Cami Lopez to put himself forward.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's got another year as well. He signed an extension.
Extension, yeah. Yeah, great work from him. He's what a player. He's so classy. I think you'd have had this, but one of our all-time favourite French players, or players in France, which might not mean much to too many other people, is rumoured for a move to the big leagues. Did you see this?
I did, yeah.
How
exciting.
Pio Murarua.
Yeah. Pio Murarua, the man with the least effectual game we've ever seen, I think.
I've ever seen. So much so he became an instant cult hero. Is rumoured to go to high flying Claremont.
Yeah, to take the place of a fellow Fijian Patheliato.
I
mean, in fairness, like when he's good, he is actually like blockbuster player. It was just that when we saw him on a cold night in November at the Stade des Alpes, there was a lot of hands on hips. There was a lot of leaning on rucks. There was also one almighty drop ball from a kickoff where he basically parted everyone around him like Moses in the Red Sea. Like, this is my ball, and then just properly like off the chest, forward 5 meters. That was magical.
Beautiful and apt end to transfer chaos at the end of 2024. I think that's it, and we've only got 3 minutes left on the recording, Rob. So back to the only Connect style question at the top. Do you have any thoughts on who the Toulouse players could be from the 2012 Super Rugby final, and which 3 players, well, 2, because you got Tuirika Barlow, are now playing in the top 14?
Now playing is tough because that's quite a long time ago now. That's 12 years ago. I'm actually really struggling on this. I did come up with a couple of players in the Chiefs team that played in France, but neither have played for Toulouse, in Messam and Cruden.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I can't. Toulouse must have had like a rapid winger or fullback at some point that's come from one of these teams.
Would you like me to reveal?
Yeah. Can you give me a club for the current players? Give me a club for the current players.
Okay, well, I think this will probably, you might get it. So Bordeaux and
Janzi van Rensburg.
Nope.
Ooh. Michael Ruru.
No.
Francis Saïli.
No.
Oh.
So shall I reveal?
Yeah.
So the 3 players who played.
Oh, Ben Tamafuna.
Ben Tamafuna, correct. He was only 21. Yeah. Started in that. And the other player you've actually mentioned today, which I think at the start this is a real hell of an effort for anyone to get this.
Anton Bresler.
Anton Bresler played for the Sharks.
There you go.
And the 2 Toulouse players who was at fly half that day for the Sharks.
Oh my God, who was at fly half?
And who was on the right wing for Chiefs?
Wasn't right wing like Richard Carhui?
No, it was Tim Nanai Williams.
He played for Toulouse?
Yeah.
Okay. Fly half for the Sharks.
We're getting really on the clock here.
Francois Stain, but he didn't know. I don't
Now
know.
coaching at Racing, Freddie Michalak.
Oh, wow. Oh, very good. Yeah, I like that. How did you stumble across that game?
Oh, I don't know. Went down a rabbit hole, probably on Anton Bresler's lid, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And right, we need to wrap it up there. Thank you for everyone who's listened in 2024. We hope you had a lovely Christmas. We'll be back in 2025, bigger, better, and Rosbiffier than ever. I've been Richard. That has been Rob. We've been the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with sheets that feel breathable to sleep in. You'll experience the purest softness on night one and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.